My heart was bursting. The moment had come. I was face to face with the angel of death. No. 2 steps from the pit, we were ordered to turn to the left and made to go into a barracks. I pressed my father's hand. He said, "Do you remember Madame Shatner in the train?" Never shall I forget that night, the first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children, whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke beneath a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which deprived me, for all eternity, of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget these things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God Himself. Never. The barracks we had been made to go into was very long. In the roof were some blue-tinged skylights. The antechamber of hell must look like this. So many crazed men, so many cries, so much bestial brutality. There were dozens of prisoners to receive us, truncheons in their hands, striking out anywhere at anyone without reason. Orders: strip, fast, los. Keep only your belts and shoes in your hands. We had to throw our clothes at one end of the barracks. There was already a great heap there, new suits and old, torn coats, rags. For us, this was the true equality, nakedness, shivering with the cold. Some SS officers moved about in the room looking for strong men. If they were so keen on strength, perhaps one should try and pass oneself off as sturdy. My father thought the reverse. It was better not to draw attention to oneself. Our fate would then be the same as the others. Later, we were to learn that he was right. Those who were selected that day were enlisted in the Sonderkommando, the unit which worked in the crematories. Bela Katz, son of a big tradesman from our town, had arrived at Birkenau with the first transport a week before us. When he heard of our arrival, he managed to get word to us that, having been chosen for his strength, he had himself put his father's body into the crematory oven. Blows continued to rain down. To the barber! Belt and shoes in hand, I let myself be dragged off to the barber's. They took our hair off with clippers and shaved off all the hair on our bodies. The same thought buzzed all the time in my head, not to be separated from my father. Freed from the hands of the barbers, we began to wander in the crowd, meeting friends and acquaintances. These meetings filled us with joy. Yes, joy. Thank God you're still alive. But others were crying. They used all their remaining strength in weeping. Why had they let themselves be brought here? Why couldn't they have died in their beds? Sobs choked their voices. Suddenly, someone threw his arms around my neck in an embrace. Yekel, brother of the Rabbi of Saget. He was sobbing bitterly. I thought he was weeping with joy at still being alive. "Don't cry, Yekel," I said. "Don't waste your tears." "Not cry? We're on the threshold of death. Soon we shall have crossed over. Don't you understand?" How could I not cry? Through the blue-tinged skylights, I could see the darkness gradually fading. I had ceased to feel fear, and then I was overcome by an inhuman weariness. Those absent no longer touched even the surface of our memories. We still spoke of them. Who knows what may have become of them? But we had little concern for their fate. We were incapable of thinking of anything at all. Our senses were blunted. Everything was blurred as in a fog. It was no longer possible to grasp anything. The instincts of self-preservation, of self-defense, of pride, had all deserted us. In one ultimate moment of lucidity, it seemed to me that we were damned souls wandering in the half-world, souls condemned to wander through space till the generations of man came to an end, seeking their redemption, seeking oblivion. without hope of finding it. Toward 5 o'clock in the morning, we were driven out of the barracks. The capos beat us once more, but I had ceased to feel any pain from their blows. An icy wind enveloped us. We were naked, our shoes and belts in our hands. The command, run, and we ran. After a few minutes of racing, a new barracks, a barrel of patrol at the entrance, disinfection. Everyone was soaked in it. Then a hot shower at high speed. As we came out from the water, we were driven outside. More running. Another barracks, the store, very long tables, mountains of prison clothes. On we ran. As we passed, trousers, tunic, shirt, and socks were thrown to us. Within a few seconds, we had ceased to be men. If the situation had not been tragic, we should have roared with laughter. Such outfits! Mere cats, a giant, had a child's trousers, and Stern, a thin little chap, a tunic which completely swamped him. We immediately began the necessary exchanges. I glanced at my father. How he had changed. His eyes had grown dim. I would have liked to speak to him, but I did not know what to say. The night was gone. The morning star was shining in the sky. I, too, had become a completely different person. The student of the Talmud, the child that I was, had been consumed in the flames. There remained only a shape that looked like me. A dark flame had entered into my soul and devoured it. So much had happened within such a few hours that I had lost all sense of time. When had we left our houses? In the ghetto? In the train? Was it only a week? One night? One single night? How long had we been standing like this in the icy wind? An hour? Simply an hour? 60 minutes? Surely it was a dream. Not far from us there were some prisoners at works. Some were digging holes, others carrying sand. None of them so much as glanced at us. We were so many dried up trees in the heart of the desert. Behind me some people were talking. I had not the slightest desire to listen to what they were saying, to know who was talking or what they were talking about. No one dared to raise his voice, so there was no supervisor near us. People whispered. Perhaps it was because of the thick smoke which poisoned the air and took one by the throat. We were made to go into a new barracks, in the gypsies' camp, in ranks of 5. And now stay where you are. There was no floor, a roof, and 4 walls. Our feet sank into the mud. Another spell of waiting began. I went to sleep standing up. I dreamed of a bed, of my mother's caress, and I woke up. I was standing, my feet in the mud. Some people collapsed and lay where they were. Others cried, "Are you mad? We've been told to stay standing. Do you want to bring trouble on us all?" As if all the trouble in the world had not descended already upon our heads. Gradually, we all sat down in the mud, but we had to jump up constantly every time a capo came in to see if anybody had a pair of new shoes. If so, they had to be given up to him. It was no use opposing this. Blows rained down, and in the final reckoning, you had lost your shoes anyway. I had new shoes myself, but as they were coated with a thick layer of mud, no one had noticed them. I thank God in an improvised prayer for having created mud in his infinite and wonderful universe. Suddenly the silence grew oppressive. An SS officer had come in, and with him the odor of the angel of death. We stared fixedly at his fleshy lips. From the middle of the barracks, he harangued us. "You're in a concentration camp at Auschwitz."